Sir, now the slides are visible, sir.
Yes, yes. The slides are visible now.
Okay.
Shall I start?
Yes, sir. Now I welcome Dr. Rahul Yadav, who is a renowned neonatologist in the country and practices at Rainbow Children Hospital, Chennai. For the past 30 years, sir has worked as a newborn infant specialist and has gained proficient skills and knowledge in various segments. Sir is a well-known member of the Indian Medical Association and has also been a part of various journals. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I hope I'm audible. So actually, today's talk is about sudden deterioration of neonate. Of this sudden deterioration of neonate, this means different things for different people. So this particular presentation we have prepared for actually three subtypes of audience. One type of audience is where the baby worsens at home and the baby is brought in a very bad shape to NICU. Second is baby is in maternity home, apparently doing well, later on worsens and suddenly we have to restate the baby. And third type is baby is already admitted in NICU, apparently improving, growing, and then baby worsens. So this particular worsening actually places a son under enormous amount of stress. And a lot of actually is a source of anxiety, unpredictable sudden worsening of neonate. So for that, we have prepared only 3 slides. First slide is about how to handle yourself during that period. Second slide is about the flow chart, and third is about the cases. So first of all, the first principle in handling this sudden deterioration of neonate is using both sides of the brain. Now, what is both sides of brain? Brain has been got both hemispheres. It is just a metaphor. Metaphor means whenever we come across such a sticky situation, we act as our training. That is, so whenever you come across this situation, that particular first. So whenever we come across this
Sir, excuse me, sir. Sir, your audio is interrupted.
sort of situation, first of all, we have to find out.
Sir, your audio is interrupted, sir.
Yeah. Now I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, audible, sir.
So first of all, yes. So part of this management of the sudden deterioration of neonate is two parts. That is treating the treatment of vital signs, at the same time finding out the etiology also. And these two things should happen side by side. So this particular thing we'll discuss in each case. Second is whenever we come across any sudden deterioration of neonate, we have got two actually stress. One is how to diagnose the problem, how to treat the baby. At the same time, how to explain the particular situation to family, because immediately that family's father's face comes in your mind, what we are told recently and what he was going to tell me. So this sort of social pressures are there. This social pressure we should not take actually. We should focus mainly on the baby, and later on we should think about how to counsel the family. Second problem is no blame game and consider whole picture. So can you change to the next slide? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, this whole picture means what? Every baby worsens with a chain of sequence of events. First of all, there is background. After background, there is a course of the baby in the hospital. Then there are certain warning signs, prodromal signs. Then there are certain events, and then there is worsening. Then this worsening happens. Then registration happens at the spinal level. And this after registration, there are two parts of it. Every baby responds to the registration in a different way. And response to treatment itself gives us a clue what may be the cause. And then after registration, baby improves. So this is during this registration and the background, we'll come across finding out the possible etiologies. And among the possible etiologies, we can zoom in, we can rule out some etiologies and go for focused. So these things we'll discuss one by one. So for this, what we have done here, we have taken 6 case scenarios, 2 each. One from initially then NICU, then worsening in maternity home, and worsening at home, and baby brought in a moribund condition to a hospital. So there are two approaches. Next one, two approaches for this. Well, we can see the arrow direction. Can you go back? Can you go back? Can you go back? So there are two approaches to this. One is once you come across such a situation when baby is blue, baby is bradycardic, baby is apneic, baby is gasping. In that case, immediately we go for evaluation. But so this particular evaluation is historical evaluation and response to treatment. So each scenario from maternity home, from at home and at NSU, we'll have one example each. And I would like to interact with the audience also, if possible, to find out what is the possible cause and how we can prevent it in future. Next slide, please. So NSU 2 cases are there, maternity home 2 cases are there, and at home 2 cases are there. Now, one example is actually going in each case there is a possibility of actually going. And in our second case, there is response to treatment users. So we'll go back to previous slide. So now we have the case of 35 days old baby. 35 days old baby, birth weight was 2.5, baby's present weight is 3.5 kilo. And this baby actually was having irritability, vomiting, regurgitation, and he was on follow-up with the pediatrician. Pediatrician prescribes a lot of oral medicines. And these oral medicines were given to the baby at night. And this baby was actually found to be actually having apnea, distress, and this baby was actually brought. So intermittently, baby was going in apnea. When the baby was brought to the hospital, immediately there were social pressures. There was discussion among the family that certain medicine was given, Colibix was given, some medicine was given. After that, baby worsened. So that same pediatrician was following the baby. Now this baby comes, this one, and this baby is gasping. We try to intubate the baby. Once you try to intubate the baby, what situation was happening? That baby was going for laryngospasm. As soon as you touch the ET to the cords were actually getting adducted immediately, and this whole area was red. It was very difficult to intubate the baby, and baby was worsening in front of our own eyes. At the same time, there was social pressure because the same pediatrician was following, same pediatrician reassured him one day earlier, and he was giving oral medicine. There was accusation that after oral medicine, this baby has worsened. So in this case, how to go about? Because here, this response to treatment is actually not happening. If we are trying to touch we are trying to intubate, that ET tip is touching the cord, immediately going for adduction, maybe further worsening, intermittently improving worsening. Here the key is in finding out the background. Now, if you see the background of the baby, it was actually near-term baby, 2.5 kilo, and he has gained weight significantly. There was history of overfeeding. Baby was crying and baby was being fed every 1 to 2 hours. Baby was having paucity, baby was having vomiting, regurgitation. They already got history says of GER. So here, what was history was there? Already the left breast is bleeding well. But when you change the breast, this one, the baby's feeding was not sufficient. Second thing is baby was having arching of neck. Baby was, once you keep the baby straight, he was actually turning to one side. There was a lot of frothing at mouth. So these are the signs of GR were present already there. And superimposed on that, their overfeeding was happening. And at night, this baby went for aspiration. Now, this history is known, and that can modify our registration plan, because this particular erythema has happened before attempt of intubation. So this erythema is not because of intubation, it is already existing earlier. So in this situation, if you touch the ET repeatedly to the cord, it is going to go for adduction. In that case, actually, we have to wait for some time. Then we have to give time. And once you given time, meanwhile, we can back the baby rather than attempting intubation again. And after some time, the cords will abduct quite easily, and now we are able to intubate. During this intubation, we can use actually, in fact, slightly smaller ET, because that whole area will be raw. That particular reflux and aspiration is going on for some time. So because of that, there is acidic inflammation there. So we can use slightly smaller ET just to tide over the crisis. And once baby is having good chest rise, heart rate improves, color improves, then we can actually think about it. These cases actually require only short-term ventilation. But those 5 to 10 minutes are very crucial. This is one example of sudden deterioration of neonate at home, where the background of the baby gives us a clue. Now we'll go for a second example. This is a maternity home worsening. Maternity home worsening, here what happens, this baby was born, it was having some signs of IUGR, but it was a very active baby, 2.4 kg, active baby. Baby was actually crying a lot. And once the baby will cry, he was getting red. And this baby was actually breastfeeding established quite early initially. So, and this baby was shifted to mother. On second day, this baby was found blue with mother's bedside. And this baby was rushed to the ICU. So in this situation, there is no clue actually. There was apparently well baby. And this baby, why the baby suddenly worsened? There was a time when we used to blame mother for that. There was a time when you used to ask the mother whether you are feeding the baby in sleeping position. If you are feeding the baby in sleeping position, then mother herself is responsible for the worsening. It is not true. Usually the cause of this worsening happens in perinatal period. These are the babies who are actually having hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, uteroplacental insufficiency, and that apparent well-being of this because of these babies cry at birth. They're not asphyxiated, but they actually have suffered from hypoxia and DLP. These are the babies who are having actually a plethora baby. So when they cry, they get circum more vigorous in the beginning. 12 hours to 24 hours, apparent well-being. They actually go for early signs of encephalopathy. Here we have to pick up early signs of encephalopathy. What are the early signs of encephalopathy? These babies also go for arching, they go for downrolling of fibers, they got exaggerated startle response. The slightest sound comes up, they are having exaggerated startle response. They are having staring look. They are irritability alternating with drowsiness. This constellation of signs make us worried that whether we are heading towards HI. These are nothing but HI stage 1 irritable babies. Their reflexes are very sharp. So these are the babies when suddenly found blue. Now this particular baby, why I'm this one highlighting more and more, this baby when the baby was brought, baby was blue, but saturation was maintained. Baby was blue, but saturation was maintained. So now this saturation maintained but baby blue is because of actually plethora. It's because of polycythemia. Now this polycythemia worsened further because feeding was not sufficient. They were wrapping the baby too much, and plus there was this one superimposed hypoxia. So ultimately, what we get here is hypoxic, ischemic, polycythemic, hypoglycemic encephalopathy. So there are 4 causes operating together. Because sugar was done, sugar was low. So this hypoxic, ischemic, polycythemic, hypoglycemic encephalopathy, suddenly it leads to worsening. So these are history is the clue. So once you do sugar, then we come to know sugar is quite fine. We have to restate the baby, correct sugar, correct polycythemia, and these babies do quite well. So every baby's diagnosis is also important, restation also important. When you're restating a sudden deterioration baby, so on one hand, we'll try to improve vital signs. On one hand, try to find out the background of the baby, and background will give us a clue. Now we'll go to the third case. This case is actually preterm baby. Is a preterm baby, approximately 30-week old, 30-week gestation age. This baby actually received surfactant in the beginning. Baby came out of ventilator very early. Baby established feeds also quite very early. And then baby was growing quite well. But then we observed that this particular baby was getting irritable too much. Here also there was vomiting. He was moving around in warmer. Because somebody has to hold the baby continuously. The baby was actually very active. So we was voraciously feeding the baby. We were wondering why the babies became so active. There is no intracranial infection. Anterior fontanelle was flat. There was no conversion. And there was a sudden report that sister was trying to hold the baby, console the baby, and then suddenly baby went to apnea. And baby was having a lot of twitching. Twitching started. So with this sugar was very high. And we found that baby is having weight loss also. Now this typical constellation, and then we investigated, we came across there was caffeine overdose. Caffeine overdose. Caffeine is known in the fact, but sometimes accidental overdosing does happen. Now, once accidental overdosing of caffeine happens, it has got a lot of side effects. One is irritability, jitteriness. Baby goes for arching, reflux, abdominal distension, feeding intolerance, GI bleeding, hyperglycemia, polyuria, and weight loss. Now, this particular constellation, once you found out, then we can give supportive care to the baby. These babies actually respond to any cerebral depression. We can give midazolam, we can give phenobarbital, and we can give stabilize, reduce the GR, and don't give caffeine again. These unfortunate babies, they keep on getting caffeine again, and then they go for quite severe worsenings. So every baby worsens. Let it be NSU, let it be at home, let it be maternity home. Don't take everything as face value. You restate the baby, but always keep your ears open. Ask the sisters without blaming them what was the background and all, and definitely some clue will come up. Now we'll go to the second part of our presentation. That is, already there is no clue from actually background, and we have to see the response to therapy to the of the vital signs. Now again we divide into 3. First example we'll give at home. This particular baby was discharged from maternity home, went home, was feeding well, Then feeding reduced, his activity reduced, and this baby developed breathing difficulty by 4th to 5th day. When the baby was brought here, this one, the hands and feet were very pale, saturation was borderline. Hands and feet were pale, saturation was borderline. Oxygenation was started. Oxygen started liberally. Lot of oxygen was given. Once we give oxygen, this one, he started to go in shock. It was very peculiar that saturation started to rise and pulse started to go down. The lonely pulses were not felt. So here we found out that this particular baby actually this is going for steal phenomenon. Once you give oxygen to the lungs, this one, his lung blood supply is slightly increasing and causing hypoperfusion, systemic perfusion. So in congenital cyanotic heart disease, critical congenital cyanotic heart disease, injudicious administration of oxygen actually can lead to actually hypotension. And this particular case was diagnosed as congenital cyanotic heart disease. So after oxygen, if the baby is worsening rather than improving paradoxically, especially shock-wise, then always take possibility of congenital cyanotic heart disease. Second example is maternity home. This baby cried after birth. Baby was placed at mother. Mother complained that baby is not feeding well. Whenever you try to feed the baby was restless. He was throwing up. This one going away. And he was giving intermittent distress was coming up. So initially it was thought that it may be mild RDS. Then some sister put a CPAP here, and this CPAP, and in spite of CPAP, baby was very restless and intermittently becoming hypoxic. So we auscultated chest. We found that there was no air entry of CPAP. Air gush was not felt. So it was retrospective. It was coronary atresia. It was coronary atresia because coronary atresia was there. There's no point of giving CPAP here. So actually, we have to take ENT surgeon's opinion. So this no lack of response to CPAP, paradoxical response to oxygen. These are the first clues that response to registration itself gives us a clue. Now we'll go to the last scenario. Last scenario is particular scenario. This one, a typical malnourished baby came with a known case of CHPS, congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. It was diagnosed very late. It should be diagnosed quite early, like 3 weeks, but diagnosed around 5 to 6 weeks. This baby came with a lot of weight loss, hypertonic baby, electrolyte disturbances were there, potassium was lower side, chloride was lower side, bicarb was high, and then actually this particular baby was actually there, and unfortunately this baby suffered from cold stress and he went into apnea. Though he went into apnea, his pulse volume and heart sounds were quite good. So doctors intubated the baby. After intubation, this one, at the time of intubation, when first auscultation was done, heart sounds were very good. But after bagging the baby, the reported heart has gone. Baby has gone into cardiac arrest and now. Again, we had to revive the baby. Again, he started to bag. Again, heart was gone. So what was very peculiar. But after bagging the baby, heart sound should improve. Heart rate should improve. Why is going opposite? So that is a peculiar situation in CHPS. In CHPS, what happens is that potassium depletion is there. This hypokalemia is there. And hypokalemia is very dangerous in presence of alkalosis because alkalosis and hypokalemia, they feed on each other. And if you create further respiratory alkalosis, pH rises. And further potassium, effective potassium drops, and your bagging actually can harm the baby. So we are given 3 examples where CPAP can harm, when oxygen can harm, where bagging can harm. So every deteriorated baby, don't expect that your treatment is definitely going to work. Sometimes it is not in spite of treatment, it is because of treatment baby dies. So this in spite of treatment and because of treatment, that particular actually we have to be open for both possibilities. Don't consider the disease is severe, that's why baby is worsening. Sometimes our treatment is making the things worse by giving excess pressure, less pressure, or causing alkalosis, acidosis, or hypoperfusion. So in this situation, we have to go for the optimization of therapy. So this is briefly we covered. So can you go to the previous? Fine. So this is really discussion about sudden deterioration of neonate. My career message is whenever we come across any deterioration of neonate, first of all, we have to find what is the context of this. Is it worsening, at home worsening, maternity home worsening? Keep whole picture in mind. Background of the baby, course of the baby, what is the event, whether a worsening happened after suctioning, after feeding, after morning care, after change of positions. So all these things should be taken care of. Later on, observe the response of the baby to restoration, and depending on response, actually we can zero in many times about the possible etiology. And treatment of possible etiology should start hand in hand along with restoration. Otherwise, the improvement is temporary. Again, baby worsens. That's all. Thank you very much. I thank all the organizers of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful and informative talk on approach to sudden deterioration in a neonate and how even treatment has to be tailored to the underlying problem. The floor is now open for questions.
Fine.
So if there are no more questions,
Thank-
yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.